My big mouth sometimes gets me into trouble.
Exactly.
You are a cheating wife.
You are a clown. Okay? You are a freaking clown.
Yeah, and you're a pregnant
That's
whore.
what you are.
And you're a pregnant whore.
Idiot that sell your pictures online, stabbing your ass with butt plugs.
User,
Jasmine's
she's a manipulator.
a hoe. Jasmine is a hoe.
Guys, she's pregnant, like, you know.
I don't give a You walked in and was like, I'm pregnant, and all the girls was like,
Y'all, this last resort tell-all is probably the most explosive tell-all we have seen. Yes, we have experienced Hurricane Angela before, but in this particular tell-all, everyone is raging and everyone is fighting dirty. If you dish it, you gotta be ready to take it, and quickly we realize that this is a hard pill to swallow. Let's get into it. Hi guys, welcome back to Nikki Faces Reality. We are here to discuss 90 Day Fiancé, The Last Resort, the tell-all part 1. We have a lot to get into. You guys know it. So let's jump straight into it. Before we do, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you're new here. Y'all, setting the scene, cast arrivals. Brandon and Julia come in. They look chipper in their matching ugly ass coats. Rob and Josh arrive together. We clearly see that the bromance is in full bloom. And they're ready to tag team. They got each other's back for any of the drama that could ensue today. Stacey and Florian arrive together. Stacey looks like a mob wife. She looks incredible. I don't know why she brought a whole luggage with her, but that's very Stacey Silva of her to do. Florian looks miserable, but he always looks miserable. But when they're asked about how their relationship is, Florian is like, yeah, you know, everything's the same. And Stacey's like, I'm putting in work. He is not. Eeyore arrives, aka Ariela, and she's like, you know, me and Benny have been great since the resort. And, you know, I'm probably going to ruin that today when I call him out. And everyone else is going to take his side, and that's going to make me even madder. Basically, I'm summarizing what she said. Crazy Natalie arrives, and she's like prancing around in her glittery dress. And she's like, I have so much to tell you guys. I'm sure you do. And it's hilarious because there's a point where she's talking backstage to like Rob and someone else, and Josh can hear her, and he's like peeking through the curtain like, let me not stir the pot just yet. Sophie arrives, and Sophie irks my soul. However, this is the best she has ever looked. I'm not a hater. I can acknowledge that. I'm so happy she got rid of that ugly ass wig because she looks incredible. What I will say about Rob and Sophie, it sounds like they've been dabbing, you know, circling the block on each other, which is weird because I feel like there's a lot of mixed messages going along, which I feel like has been their entire marriage. But she doesn't waste an opportunity to drag this man. So I'm looking at her like, why do you keep going back to him when you don't need to, you know? Benny pulls up. He's a showman, and he's wearing the most extravagant Ethiopian, I'm assuming it's Ethiopian, garment. It looks incredible, but he definitely wore it because he knew it would be eye-catching, and it is. We see Gino, and he's like, yeah, you know, Jasmine and I were good until we literally got home and everything changed. I wonder why. But he says he has dirt about Jasmine, and if Matt dares to show his face, he has dirt on him too. I am ready to see it. So finally they get on set, right? And they're split up, girls and guys, because this is usually how they split up at the resort. Girls would gang up on the guys and vice versa. Everyone is here except Jasmine. Jasmine is strategically missing. We do see Jasmine in the car ride over. It's obvious that they glammed her up in her hotel room. They kept her separate because they want this reveal, you know, to be a big deal. But I just can't help but feel like they're really setting her up to be like the next Supreme, like the next big 90-day girl aside from Angela. But that's not a role that you want in that nature, in my opinion. Of course, it wouldn't be Jasmine without making herself a victim on this ride. But I want to highlight that she specifically says, you know, I'm not ready for this tell-all. Like, you know, I've been really stressed about it and anxious about it. And I know that my mouth sometimes gets me in trouble. And I want to highlight that because I feel like Jasmine loves to bark and then retreat like a victim when people react. People should never engage physically. But if you come at someone, people have a right to defend themselves. Jasmine, we don't know on the show yet, but we know in real life is pregnant. When you are pregnant and you are a caring mother or mother to be, you're not going to put yourself in the line of fire. I say that to say you don't provoke, you don't incite. And I think that this tell-all, I know it's bringing up a lot of feelings for everyone, but I feel like if they didn't want Jasmine, or Jasmine didn't want to own up to responsibility, then they should have postponed this tell-all for when she gave birth to the baby. Because people are allowed to let out their grievances about the crap that she did to them, because this is the forum to do it. And Jasmine knows that she's not innocent, that she did dirt, that she meddled in people's relationships. She had a whole baby while still married. She knows all of these things are at play. You kind of have to like take your losses, but we know that Jasmine is not someone that backs down. So this tell-all was always going to be chaotic. But I just want to, bring that up, that like, I don't think that she should be put in harm's way, but I don't think it's harmful to be held accountable. So we pivot back to set before Jasmine arrives, and Sean is starting up the reunion with doing like one-liner like updates for each couple. Messy Sean starts with Natalie and Josh. She's like, I saw that you guys had a chaotic breakup. Like, how are you today? Have you seen each other? And we learned that they have seen each other, but more on that in a second. They get to Gino. Gino confirms and him and Jasmine are officially separated, but still married. And what I want to know is the sequence of events. I think we all want to know, like, when certain things occurred. We get to Stacey and Florian. Florian is like, yeah, we just up and down every day. Like, it's the same old. And Stacey's like, he reverted back to his old habits. Brandon and Julia. Brandon is like, I'm so grateful for the therapist. However, I feel like Julia is backtracking on what she promised. Ari and Binny. When we saw them, they left the resort early, right? Because they were gonna go get a divorce. However, they have not started any of the paperwork for said divorce. And so someone was joking like, oh, then maybe you guys should just be in an open relationship. It sounds like that's what you're doing. To which Ari says, well, technically Binny has been in an open marriage the whole time. We get to Rob and Sophie, and as we know, they have not been together in like, even while they were married, right? But they have seen each other a few times, schmexually, which I think is ironic because when they were together, they didn't sleep together. So it's just so interesting to me. Like, Sophie says that he's a trash person. He's this, he that. She drags him. Not saying that he doesn't deserve to be dragged. But I feel like after a while, like, I'm a side-eye you, because it's like, if he's so trash and you want to, put him on blast in every moment, why do you go back for the D? Especially when the D belonged to you in your marriage and you didn't want it. So I think it's one of those things that, like, it's like a cat and mouse game. But Rob is like, yeah, I'm trying to move on. And every time she sees that I'm trying to move on, here she comes. But what I thought was weird about this is that Josh decided to insert himself in this part of the segment. He's like, yeah, Rob and I, that's my bestie. And like, it's just so interesting that like him and Sophie are not together and they were hooking up. And me and Natalie are not together and we were hooking up. Because, we had schmecks various times. And I'm like, no one asked you that. That's one. Two, Natalie's like, that's a lie. She's like, oh, it was pity schmacks. Like, that's it. That's all it was. And that's not gentlemanlike. Like, why are you putting on blast your intimacy with her when she obviously didn't want that out? One, because it's none of anyone's business. But two, because she looks like a clown. Because you dumped her and she's going back with you. And I called it, you guys, when they were breaking up at the resort. I felt like he was so mad that she didn't give him the reaction that he wanted because he still wanted to have the claws on her. He's so, like, predictable. Finally, you guys, it is the moment of truth, right? The moment we've all been waiting for. Jasmine comes in, making her entrance. Surprise! I have eyes. Jasmine looks beautiful. She looks glowing. She does. However, seeing Gino's face was heartbreaking to me. And I am not a fan of how he behaved. But still, I believe that when you make a vow of marriage, like, that's a big deal. And it could be argued that he didn't hold up his side of the bargain too. But it just made my stomach turn, because he said often that he wanted to have a family. So seeing the person that is still your wife, technically, come in happily pregnant with someone else's baby, with everything aside, Jasmine deserves to be happy. She deserves to have a healthy pregnancy, healthy delivery, healthy baby, happy future, all of the things. But it doesn't change that the chess moves that she made were sinister and that people are going to have something to say about it. And you can engage or you can take it, but if you incite, people are going to react. It's a chain reaction. It's honestly a chain reaction of toxicity in this reunion. But Jasmine comes in, everyone's like, oh my God, oh my God. Sean is like, you're pregnant. Gino looks like he's about to throw up. Sean is like, Jasmine, you want to say hi to Gino? And she's like, hi. And like, who knows what's been going on behind the scenes, right? I don't know. I just feel like the whole thing is cruel. They asked Gino how he feels. He says he's heartbroken because obviously he is not the father. And this is the part where I'm like, girl, be effing for real. Sean asks Jasmine when is her due date. And here's the thing. It is her business, right? This lady has sucked toes on camera. She is the queen of oversharing. She has told us when she has pissed on Gino. She has told us when she got her vag rejuvenated. She has told us literally things that we never asked for. You're going to sit here and say, oh, well, I'd rather keep the due date private. You want to keep it private because you don't want the FBI detectives to start doing the math of when you were making shady moves to get pregnant. Call it what it is. But she's not going to do that. She's like, oh, it's superstition. So I only want to tell inner circle. Okay, Jasmine. Sean gets her to confirm that this is Matt's baby. And she's like, oh, wow. Oh, wow. She asks the room, are you guys surprised by this? Everyone's like, no, except Gino. Gino's like, I am surprised. Perhaps because when we last saw them, the agreement was that Matt would wrap it up. And everyone in the room agreed to it. So how? Is she pregnant? I can't wait to fill in the gaps of what happened, the sequence. Because right now, there's a wrong party, But still, I want to give the benefit of the doubt that we're going to get the full timeline. I'm really hoping we get it because... And so this is where it takes a turn because Sean asks Florian and Rob their thoughts because they were very vocal about it in the resort. Florian is like, I knew that this would happen. We told him. Rob affirms that. He's like, I told Gino that this was a bad idea because this was never a ploy about being in an open relationship. This was a ploy about being with Matt. Jasmine is like, I don't care about your opinion. Like, it doesn't matter. Jasmine is like, I don't really care about your opinion because your marriage failed. I can take accountability for my marriage failing. And it's like, girl, is accountability in the room with us? We have yet to hear it. And Rob is like, you have not taken accountability. Like, what are you talking about? And she's like, your outfit is matching you because you're a clown. He's like, yeah, I'm a clown and you're a pregnant whore. And she doesn't owe any explanations to Rob, but she does owe an explanation to her husband, right? When he called her a pregnant whore, she got up and charged at him and halfway took off her shoe and threw it at him. This is the part that's controversial for people. Rob gets up. Rob does not charge at her. Rob gets up to swerve from the heel that is coming at him. Rob is a clown, yes, but he is a clown that's allowed to defend himself when this lady is assaulting him. This lady happens to be pregnant, but that doesn't change the fact that she went to physically aggravate someone for calling something out how it looks. Is it the gentleman-like thing to do to call someone that? No. But here's the thing. Rob and Jasmine are not friends. And Jasmine started it. At the resort, Jasmine inserted herself in Rob and Sophie's relationship. She was the one that was in Sophie's ear being like, yeah, put him on blast in front of everyone when she found the dating photos of when Rob and Sophie were not together. Jasmine started the beef between them. So why in the world would Rob sit here and massage her ego when he doesn't like her and she doesn't like him? Jasmine wasn't playing fair. Rob never plays fair. This is fire and fire. And again, I say, Jasmine doesn't get to be exempt from being in the hot seat when she did dirt. And she knew that this was going to happen. People were going to come at her because of her actions. Of course, no one wants to hear bad things about themselves, but like, she inserted herself in every single scenario. You think you're exempt of people having opinions about you? Like, Come on now. But then this is where I'm like, okay, and this is where you guys have crossed the line. Because it gets to the point where I guess Gino is empowered by the fact that Rob is calling Jasmine names. Gino then starts calling Jasmine a whore. And so they're basically like full on slut shaming her. And like, I understand that Gino has a lot of anger and it's rightfully so. Come on. But this is where I feel like now it's 2 against 1. And this can incite a lot of distress to someone that's pregnant. Because 1-on-1, she's provoking Rob equally, right? But 2-on-1, that is going to send a spike of adrenaline that she does not need in her state. Because at that point, it's no longer a fair fight. But Jasmine is ignoring Gino and hyper-focused on Rob. And it's almost like she knew that Rob was going to come at her. Because, I mean, they've been beefing all season long. So she is basically coughing up a lung the way that she's yelling at Rob. But she's putting on blast, you sell BJs for $500 on the internet. You have your photos here and this and that. And you like to be with men. And basically like yelling at him about pornography. And he's like, gay corn? I don't know what you're talking about. And she's like, I can show you the video. I can show you this. And here's the thing. I know she felt like she was under attack, but Gino and Rob have no business slur shaming, right? But Jasmine, you have no business being homophobic. You and Sophie are constantly talking about kissing girls. Whoever Rob decides to kiss or flash his beehole to is none of your business, right? Also, you also are a schmex worker. You have a page on that site, OF. So you weaponizing those two things against a man is very like, the call is coming from inside the house. And she wouldn't stop yelling about this. Rob later on does like kind of own up to it. He's like, it's not gay corn necessarily, but I was selling photos of myself on this site, which isn't any different from what Sophie and basically half of the 90-day franchise is on that site. It sounds like these were really old photos of Rob that happened, I guess, before him and Sophie were together or before they were married or something. I'm unclear on the timeline, but they were put on blast online once they got on the show. So at this point, she's basically yelling like, you have the ugliest booty hole I've ever seen in my life. And he's like, okay, whatever. Sean is trying to calm her like, girl, you are here charging up on people, jumping up and down like you're not pregnant. No one is making you do all of that. People aren't even coming at you. She's only surrounded by security. She's the one that's like doing all of that. So you need to regulate for you and your baby. So Sean is trying to calm her down. We see Rob backstage with Gino, I think, and Florian, I forget who else. And he's like, I'm not going to let up. So too bad. I'm not going to let up. I don't care that she's pregnant. Jasmine is on set crying like, I didn't come here to play a victim. I can own my mistakes. I don't hear them. Please list them, you know? But Rob comes back on set and I guess he like glanced over Jasmine and she's like, what are you looking at, you clown? And this is where I'm like, Rob, you're doing too much. You're doing too much. Because then he gets up and he's like, what? You think that because you came in here pregnant that you know, we're going to play nice? And he gets up, you guys, and starts prancing like a pregnant lady. Like, look at me, I'm pregnant, everyone be nice. And Jasmine throws her other shoe at him. This is rough, right? So he basically like walks off with one of her shoes that she threw at him. And he like ditches it out in the street. Somehow another producer found it and basically gave it to her. And they were like, girl, you need to promise you're going to keep your shoes on. You're going to stop throwing them. Sean has to make an announcement. Like, please, everyone, keep your hands to yourselves. Do not have flying shoes. And let's be mindful about how we speak to each other. Girl, you got the wrong cast for that. And so because things are too hot and Jasmine is about to throw up her baby with how much she's yelling, they're like, we're gonna get back to Jasmine and Gino another time. And they put in, you know, a breather. We're probably gonna see them in part 2, of course, when they bring up Matt. So they put that to rest for now and they get to Brandon and Julia. When they ask for an update, Julia's like, well, you know, like, everything can't be solved in a day, which she conveniently says after Brandon is like, yeah. Brandon is like, yeah, you know, she definitely has a priority to get her parents here and she's been lighting up the fire for that, but has yet to make any moves about what I want. I really am not sure if Brandon is being pushy or if Julia for real is just being selfish and or just doesn't want a baby and won't flat out say it. She's entitled to not want a baby, but Brandon is also entitled to be with someone that's going to give him that because he has made it no secret that that is what he wants. So I'm really just curious about like what is holding her back. Or is it that she would rather start working on that once she has a support system here, which would also make sense to me. Like I would want to have my mom around when I'm pregnant. Like I don't want to just have Brandon's parents who don't make me feel like they're ever going to take my side, you know? And to make matters worse, they bring out his swinging parents. And of course, they're on a cruise. Probably a swingers cruise. And of course, they ramp it up by showing the scene of Julia dancing at the bar and the guys slur shaming her. And I'm like, Brandon, you don't get to slur shame your wife. You literally met her when she was a go-go dancer. She has always been a wild girl. And like, this is just one of those unfortunate situations where Brandon was fun on vacation and then they got to the real world and he's not his vacation self. So they're clashing. And of course, the parents are making faces like, oh, Julia doesn't have any limits. They, of course, play back the scene of Between the Sheets where Brandon calls her a whore. And Julia's like, yeah, he never apologized for that. And there was a moment that his mom was like, well, it can be argued that Julia owes him an apology. And I'm like, no, we don't speak to our wives like that. Brandon, how are you surprised that your wife doesn't want to sleep with you when you are making her feel like crap? Eventually, though, they do make him apologize and it doesn't seem genuine at all. And then, of course, they touch on the cheating of it all because it was revealed in the resort that she had cheated. But what we learn is that this isn't the first time that she has done a sketchy move. And then they play back the scene in Between the Sheets where we see Julia talking to Sophie about the cheating incident that Brandon was mentioning and that there's a lot to it that he doesn't know. And she was like, yeah, Sophie, I'll tell you off camera. And they ask Julia, what was it that you were going to tell Sophie? We don't get to hear it. We just see everyone's reaction and everyone looks disgusted. So I guess we're going to find out next week, but it does not look good. I've said it before. I feel like at times Julia does not respect Brandon. The way that she talks about cheating, I don't know if it's because of her guilt and she's deflecting and is like always has like a smirk to her when she says this, but boundaries were crossed, you know? So that was part 1, y'all. It was crazy. I cannot wait for part 2 because we're going to get the scoop on the cheating incident with Julia, but also we get to know more about the other couples. I'm wondering if it's more than 2 parts because we still have to get through Rob and Sophie and their chaos because Sophie's gonna be like, I have receipts. Then there's gonna be Natalie and Josh. We still have Ari and Benny to cover. We have Stacey and Florian. They're gonna bring out Darcy next episode. And of course, they're probably gonna bring out Matt. So there's so much. I would love to know your thoughts on this tell-all. Please let me know. Of course, as always, let's stay respectful in the comments. We can disagree on views. After all, we are reacting to a show. But I am curious on your thoughts because so much happened and it's so layered and definitely a loaded tell-all. Probably the craziest one we've seen because usually there's only like one crazy person, but I feel like everybody wants to smoke in this cast. It's like one dysfunctional friend group, right? Like one day they love each other, the next they hate each other. Let me know your thoughts. Thank you guys so much for watching and I will see you in the next one.